Welcome everyone to Behind the Couch. I am Dr. Shiloh of the podcast LA Not So Confidential. We are starting off here with many guests, but first of all, my partner's here. Dr. Scott, say hello.
Hey everybody. Sorry if the sound quality we're having major vocal problems with sound, so.
Oh, you're doing fine. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being back after making me scurry to find a co-host last time.
Seriously, you've got like so many people that could potentially replace me. I'm going to start checking my food a little more closely.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we are going to basically get into it. I know we have not read off Patreon members' names in a while. We absolutely will get you next time. But we have 3 guests with us tonight. So one of them is here physically with me because we were like, we can't just keep popping on and off and get vocal. And Adrian happens to live close to me. So I invited him over to just share a square with me. But Adrian is our Patreon member, our friend, our peer, who suggested the case study that I covered in the episode on stolen valor. And we are going to continue the conversation tonight, but thanks for coming, Adrian.
No, thanks for inviting me.
And why did I invite you particularly?
Because I'm full of shenanigans. No, because we don't live that far from each other. And then also it just makes more sense because really I wanted to give the platform to these warriors here that are visiting us today. So definitely didn't want to, I didn't want them to click off or anything. I wanted them to be here.
Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, introduce these fellas, and how you all know each other?
All right. So my name is Adrian Robles. I served with 2nd Battalion 7th Marines, which is a unit based out of 29 Palms, California. And that's where I met these 2 knuckleheads here, my heroes here. We served together between the years of 2005 and 2009. And so I was in the Marine Corps for 12 years, and we were all in the infantry together. And then after we served our time, we all kind of split off and did other things. Of course, Anthony Villarreal, he was injured in an act of terrorism, actually, in 2008, June 20th, where a roadside bomb actually hit his vehicle and unfortunately led to the loss of life of one of our Navy corpsmen, Dustin Burnett. And, he was injured. He he did many surgeries, just long recovery to get where he is now. And he's currently with Wounded Warrior Project, and he's doing a lot of good things with them. So our boy Anthony Wheeler, he's actually the recipient of the Bronze Star with V for Valor for actions that actually occurred after we served together. Because when we served together, we went to Iraq and Fallujah. We went to Iraq in and around the Al Anbar province. And then after that, we kind of, went our separate ways. Vil and I went to Afghanistan, but in 2 different time frames. And then Anthony went to Afghanistan with another company, with another unit. So just in a nutshell, we've all kind of encountered weird things in our journey of being Marines, both current and former. And I wanted to bring it to light because, when you guys brought up this whole Stolen Valor Act, I thought, oh my gosh, there's so much, it's so complex, right? And Scott brought it up too, as it like other ways of looking at it, right? And I wanted to bring them up because Anthony Wheeler has a story that actually happened and occurred while he was still serving. And I'm sure our boy Anthony Villarreal, he probably encountered it once he was recovering. But I don't know if you want to start with.
Well, thank you guys for being here. First of all, we're so grateful that Adrian, agreed to come on and just kind of talk about his thoughts. But then he said, hey, I have these 2 great guys that are going to be a wealth of information and feedback for your audience about this subject. And we're just grateful that you're here. We're absolutely 100% grateful for your service. And when was the last time you guys were all together?
Oh my gosh, it's been years now. But see, with us, it's like we can talk. We will not see each other or talk to each other for like 20 years, but we can just pick back on like our previous conversation.
Well, Wheeler, anything that you would like to add just about you, your background, if you just want to additionally introduce yourself?
So my name's Anthony Wheeler. I was with these two gentlemen here with the 2nd Battalion South Marines from 2005 till, for me, 2008. I left the same month they left for Afghanistan, but then I got orders to Maryland to an NBC unit that it's like a reaction force for DC. And there I partaked in President Obama's inauguration, a couple of state unions. If anybody's seen Jarhead, I was in MOP level 4, chemical suits and stuff like that. That was my job. And then from there, I went back to Twin Palms. Like, right, I had the option to go to Camp Pendleton. They gave me a couple of units there, but I decided to go back to where I came from, was Twin Palms. So I went to 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines. And then I got the most greatest opportunity. I became a foreign advisor. So I got there, I got attached to a small advisor platoon, became my own team lead for my own advisor team. Did a practice tour to Republic of Georgia, advised the Georgian military there, and then deployed to Afghanistan in 2011 as a foreign advisor, advising Afghan national like SWAT, the Afghan SWAT police, and operated there for my tour. And then that's on that deployment, some actions that occurred ended up resulting, actually technically it was resulting in a NJP.
Non-judicial punishment.
Yeah, I was about to lose my rank there, but because some of the decisions I made were frowned upon at that time. And then obviously after action saved my butt. And then like about a year later, the Marine Corps seemed fit to award me the Bronze Star with Combat Valor. And yeah, that's about it.
Are you from California?
I'm from California. I'm from Central Valley.
Got it.
The farmlands and oil fields of good old Cali. That's where I am.
And
Yeah.
prison.
I call it Texas of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Scott worked a lot of prisons up in Central Valley, so he knows how beautiful it is out there.
It's the big industry. It's like agriculture, prison, house. That's it.
Yeah. The pollution, like if you want lung cancer, come down to Bakersfield.
Valley fever.
Valley fever, yeah, we got it all here, so it all settles down.
What a blessing.
Yes.
It's a blessing. It is a blessing.
Hey, it's the birthplace of Buck Owens.
Oh, yeah.
So
we're at the Buck Owens Palace here, so come visit.
As I'm Googling Buck Owens. Okay, so thanks, Wheeler. Appreciate it. Bill, please tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Anthony Villarreal. I deployed with 2-7 in 2005, 2006, 2008. Went to boot camp in December of 2004. Did that with Anthony Wheeler here. We were in the same platoon, went through all the 3 months of rigorous training in San Diego. Ended up getting stationed in 29 Palms, where I spent my 4 years in the Marine Corps. Did 2 tours to Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. Ended up getting injured, like Adrian Robles said, in June 20th, 2008. IED exploded right under our Humvee, injuring me and 2 other personnel that was in my vehicle. We did lose a Navy corpsman, which Doc Burnett was the only casualty at that time when we got injured. Was put in a drug-induced coma for 3 months so the doctors can perform multiple surgeries on my body. Have about 70% burns all over my body, missing my right hand above the wrist, my left digits on my left fingers on my left hand, and I have drop foot. Luckily, I only came out with a small fracture on my back, so I didn't have any major problems as far as that. did 2 years at Brooke Army Medical Center, which is now called San Antonio Military Medical Center. And after I got out of the military, I didn't really know what to do, and found out about Wounded Warrior Project while I was in the hospital, and decided to go check that organization out, see what they were about. Ended up becoming part of their national campaign team. And so basically what I do with them is a company or individual would ask to have a warrior come out and share their story. And so they'll call me up and ask if I want to go out wherever they wanted us to go out. I'll go out there and I'll share my story with whoever wants to listen to it. And it just helps bring awareness to not only just warriors transitioning from military to civilian life, but also wounded warriors trying to go from being wounded warriors to wounded civilians. And so I try and help out as much as I could to bring that sort of awareness, letting people know that we still have service members overseas defending themselves and the locals in Iraq and Afghanistan or wherever they may be, that we're not all home yet. And there are still some that are going through physical therapy and things like that to get over their disabilities, not just physical but mental. And was trying to get a job, started to get bored. Retirement's not as fun as they all say. So was trying to do that, and with me being home, and I play a lot of video games, so I decided, hey, maybe I'll try streaming and seeing if people watch me. Most of my proceeds that I just recently started, haven't been doing it long, maybe about 3 months, but I'm trying to do where most of my proceeds go to organization of my choice during that month, like Wounded Warrior Project or Semper Fi Fund or whatever organization I can find. So I thought that would be another way for me to bring more awareness to people that are unaware of.
I'll put your Twitch handle in the chat so people can have it. I got that.
And, hey, Anthony, what are you streaming? What do you play when you're on Twitch? What's your main?
I do a lot of first person shooters.
Okay.
Call of Duty, Destiny, Apex, things like that. I try to do smaller games, newer games that are coming out that are not well known, but that's my go-to, since obviously me being in the military, I miss being able to be in combat myself. So first person shooters are my thing. So
and also I want to piggyback off of what Seville's saying, is that this whole concept of fragile veterans, right? This fragile mentality of veterans, that's actually not entirely true for a lot of veterans, right? Maybe for some, but not for all, because veterans such as these gentlemen here and myself, we just want a purpose, just direct us and focus us to have a purpose, right? And so with Vil, it's so funny because he's out there with first shooter games, right? Or player games where he's actually in combat, simulated combat scenarios. So somebody might think well, doesn't that cause you issues, right? And it really doesn't. I mean, it just not for a lot of veterans. It just they just need a platform. They need a purpose to be able to direct those energies towards. So I really I'm actually in awe of what you do even still to this day, and still in helping out the veteran community, Bill. So thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And for me, when I do play those games, it kind of brings back the memories of being overseas with these guys. They just come up, and it kind of makes me enjoy being at home, being able to do just playing a simple video
something
game
that you're really good at, something you have great mastery at. I mean, you're blowing me away, man, because it immediately thinks you're giving yourself treatment. You're giving yourself what we would call exposure therapy. I'm literally I'm so impressed. That's so cool.
And a lot of us, especially me, I know definitely with me, I would sit in my room sometimes and I would just get in my head, and I was really for a while going into a dark place because, you know, when I first came out of my coma and looked at my injuries, I had a million questions were just running through my head. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to support me and my family? What's going to happen to me?
Sure.
And, you know, like they say, when you sit down and just get in your head, you just dig a deeper hole into, you know, making yourself even worse. And so I had to actually find a way to play games. Obviously, you know, with how the controllers are, you know, there's a lot of buttons on each controller with all the platforms. Learning to do that over again. And once I found a way that I could play these video games, you know, I just stuck to it, kept going. And it was actually therapy for me. And I found multiple friends playing on these games. Got together with a small community with games such as like Destiny that are, you know, you need more than one person to play sometimes, especially Call of Duty where it's all fire teams of 4, 3, 2 people. And so even I play with some veterans who are like, man, it feels good to play with somebody who kind of knows what I'm going through. And, you know, that not only helps me, but I'm like, man, I feel better for, you know, getting into this with other guys because, you know, they need it probably as much as I do.
Sure. So did you guys get a chance to listen to the episode on Stolen Valor, the podcast?
I did. I listened to it yesterday.
I listened to about 10 minutes before I have 5 kids, so I got distracted.
How dare you? Oh my God.
Shame on me.
Well, I want to hear Adrian's thoughts on it because he gave me some feedback, you know, just in the day after that I thought was really interesting. Things that I hadn't even thought of would come up, but I want to get your feedback as well. Just on, not necessarily on the episode, but also just on Stolen Valor altogether. And if some different stuff came up for you once we kind of talked about it through a psychological lens and what these folks might be struggling with mental illness wise. But Adrian, why don't you start?
Okay, cool. Thank you. So I really had this like visceral response to anybody that ever tried to act like if they've ever done something, right? And Scott,
Same here.
You really outlined it very well in the show because you know, from a professional standpoint, if someone's trying to act the part, right, similar to what your capacity is, your scope of practice is, and they're faking the funk, number one, you could tell, and number two, like, what does that show for the rest of the community, right? If they're making a bad name for the community, right, that just that injures, that hurts all of you, right? And the validity of that scope of practice. So the same thing with us in the military. It's like whenever I hear somebody that talks about it, you know, I'm a little interested to see like, okay, so let's see how accurate this is. Have they served? Did they actually serve in that capacity? Because a lot of the guys like Vil and Wheeler can attest to is that there was always like, we'd always go to the bar and there would always be somebody that says, oh yeah, so this guy says he's a sniper. And, you know, I'm like, oh, really? What does he say? What kind of things does he say? So like, even for my civilian friends, they would always ask me, hey, can you vet this guy? So anyways, now as far as the episode goes, brilliantly done because you're dealing with multiple aspects. It's so complex of an issue. Okay. And at the end of the episode, I really just felt sad. I felt bad for them, not so much this visceral like hate to people that would try to fake the funk. So I really appreciate you guys bringing the light to it and saying, well, there could be a lot of like other issues beneath the surface, not just because they want a free, you know, hot dog from Pink's or, you know, Pink's Dogs down in LA, or, you know, maybe they want a 10% discount from, you know, Robin or Lowe's or yeah, you know, and you're talking to guys here on this panel that don't even want to go out during Veterans Day to use that discount because we feel like it's cheapening, you know, the lives that have been lost in defense of our freedoms, right? So it's real what they say. Like the more people talk about something, more than likely they're overcompensating. They probably didn't do that. You know, it's usually the quiet guy in the room that's the one that's seen the most, possibly, right? But overall, Stolen Valor, the episode was just well done. And I really appreciate you guys, your banter. Just even the stuff that you guys go on a tangent with is like perfect, because not only are we sticking to this straight, like dry topic that it could possibly get dry, but you're also bringing in other aspects of it. And I thought it was great. So now, as far as Stolen Valor as a whole, I didn't realize this, but since we were all in around the same time in the early 2000, like late 2004, right? Because I graduated boot camp in 2004, December 2004. While you boots were getting on to the depot, just saying. Anyways, shower shoe? No. Anyways, military terms. So in 2005, President Bush signed the Stolen Valor Act, right? But eventually that was thrown out as being unconstitutional, and it was infringing on free speech. But what I didn't know until recently was that was because of a guy that lived not too far away from us here in Southern California. This man by the name of, it was Xavier Alvarez. Xavier Alvarez was a newly elected member of this water district here in the area, and he, in his first address to the board on his first ever meeting, said that he was, quote, let's see. I'm a retired Marine of 25 years. I retired in 2001. Back in 1987, I was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. I got wounded many times by the same guy. Just that right there, he actually got, he actually, the board was like, wait a minute, that's weird. Why would you, we've never heard of a Marine since Vietnam being awarded the Medal of Honor. Actually, the first to ever be living Marine that ever to be awarded the Medal of Honor was Dakota Meyer, and he was actually awarded that not too long ago for actions in 2009. So
he didn't even do his research?
He didn't even do his research, and nor did he ever serve in the Marine Corps. So,
and wasn't he running against another veteran? The incumbent was a veteran, right?
Ooh, you know what? I don't know, and that probably is correct, and that's probably why the fictitious side of this came up, because he knew he probably would have a lot more ploy. But that was actually the first time that he ever said that was ever like quoted or even on camera that he actually said these comments. But the FBI was consulted in the case. He actually was convicted. I don't know about the specific conviction that he was convicted for, but he was fined $5,000. He had to do like an enormous amount of, community service. But his case was the one that ultimately landed in the Superior Court's desk on their docket. And that's when the lawyer argued that, well, we know that he's got issues, but is it really illegal to say that, you're a war hero? I mean, can you convict somebody that says that they're a high school diploma recipient? And it be like, where do you stop? So that's pretty much what caused them to throw it out and to be revised. And then President Obama signed it into law with the adage of there has to be like a of monetary value, right? Fraudulent activity with monetary value involved with it. So yeah, sorry, but we have a neighbor that's acting like he's a war hero when really he isn't. And I mean, you have to do above and beyond. I mean, you have to save a bus full of kids in the middle of Afghanistan to be awarded under heavy fire to be awarded the Medal of Honor. It's not just something that they just toss out to anybody. On top of that, that award is closely, I mean, there's only one place in the United States that creates those medals, and it's out in Philadelphia, I believe, or New York, I forget. But there's only one company, and they're very closely regulated. And there's a serial number on the back of them. And anyone that has, like, Anthony Wheeler has the Bronze Star. He's a recipient of the Bronze Star. From Bronze Star, Silver Star, Navy Cross, Medal of Honor, and even Purple Heart, I believe. Those are all public knowledge. So if someone ever were to say, "Oh yeah, I'm a war hero and I have these medals," you can actually Google them and see if really, in fact, that's true. Because I've had to do that myself. Registry. Absolutely, a registry. So, people that are active duty can actually look up within there. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Wheeler.
Sorry to cut you off, but the Bronze Star is not technically in a registry due to it's a meritorious award also.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's why the award has the V to indicate that separation from a meritorious, like, is, like officers. That's like the officer's NAM,
Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. So now, because you told me this, now tell me, have you ever been questioned for you being a recipient of the Bronze Star?
So I wasn't ever questioned directly, like the fact that I was wearing it, but the manner of how I've been approached, and this isn't even outside the military, this is actually within a unit. My assumption is they felt threatened because I was only in aspects of valor or in aspects of like your what do you call it, chest candy, your ribbons or whatever. Every single Marine wore their ribbons, my award would be pretty much above you in the battalion commander's aspect if you look at it that way. And so when I got to this unit, I have this award, and with the award comes quote expectations of you, like that are
what kind?
You are pretty much the most knowledgeable infantryman on the planet, and if you don't know something, then they look at you as you don't rate the awards that you receive, type thing. Because how would you get it?
So it sounds like they're coming at you with this unrealistic view of what those medals mean, and then holding you to an unrealistic standard.
Yeah, so like your rank obviously would be towards your performance. Like the rank structure goes off your performance. Like if you're a sergeant, you're in a position to do a job, but you can't do it, then the question might be, should you get promoted? How did you even make that rank if you can't do this? But the award system is more towards you accomplish something at a frozen time. So like for my award, it didn't even blanket the whole deployment. It just focused and froze a piece of time, which happened to be on Father's Day. So every Father's Day that comes around, it's been like pretty much branded in my mind that occasion repeats itself over and over again. But that award is only branded, and the firefight only lasted like an hour.
Only.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. To me, that's like a short firefight. But it was frozen in that time. Like, no matter what you do before or after is irrelevant to that. So, so when you walk around and they see that you have a Bronze Star, the assumption, obviously, you can fabricate whatever you want in your mind of the person. And then, like for me, I was a sergeant in a unit, and I don't know everything. And the unit was new to me, and they have different weapon systems that I never handled outside of what I'm expert in. And because I couldn't figure out at that time, because I'm still learning the weapon systems, they're just the assumption of me as a sergeant, and because I had that award, you could feel the downgrade. I don't know how to word it, but like the downgrade, like you're not. Here's all the sergeants, and here's you, and then here's like the corporals. Like you're not
not worthy of it.
Yeah,
isn't it crazy how in the military and law enforcement we can be so loyal and bonded to each other, but we can also be so awful to each other. Like,
real each other.
I mean, it's, not just in jest, but really especially after like something serious happens, and you have the Monday morning quarterbackers, the people who have never been in the shit themselves that are talking the most. And then here, almost this weird reverse stolen valor where they're like, oh, well, you're not living up to the expectation of that thing pinned on your chest for some incident that you couldn't even control.
It's crazy.
I also love that description. I was going to say, I love that description that you used. You're talking about it was a slice in time. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, that slice in time, which got you medal and this recognition, now casts a whole different perspective on everything you do. I mean, I don't think people think it through. And certainly the guys walking up to you with challenge, if they, if they're threatened by your accomplishments or whatever, they're not looking at the big picture, which is really kind of what this whole episode was about. We went into it thinking it was going to be very black and white, and realized there's just shades of gray and all this stuff and different motivations. But yeah, that's rough.
So the other hand to that, the other side of the coin is that the Marine Corps and other military units, it's a small community. So it doesn't take much time nor like effort to just validate somebody's award. Like, hey, does this guy actually like receive it like under good circumstances, or what's going on here? And he probably knew, those people that knew about your award probably did their own research and knew that you deserved it, but they almost feel threatened for it. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's why I like to bring these guys on, right? I wanted to introduce you to these gentlemen here, these warriors, because I mean, there's things that we've encountered that nobody would understand, nor would they even like believe us if we actually shared it. Wheeler getting. So there's the most dangerous street in Fallujah. It's a marketplace, and that at the end of that, that's the bridge where the contractor from Blackwater was actually strung up and hung, because the mob had taken over and hung him from that bridge. That's what led up to the whole reason why we went into Fallujah. Now, when we were driving down that street, he actually had a fragmentation grenade thrown into the back of his vehicle right next to him, and it exploded. And actually, the shrapnel hit his protection. We call it nut pro because it's in the crotch area. Just letting you guys know.
Thank you for the lingo.
Yes, it's protecting that area. And so ever since then, yeah.
Yes.
So we would the names that he got after that were just very funny. And then for Vil, just all the things of like getting into firefights, and him being the saw gunner, he had a light machine gun that he would have with him and just rocking that thing, whenever we're getting into firefights, or the bombs that we would encounter. And then there would we be like a foot away from them, just poking at it, saying, maybe we should call someone on this, or maybe we should just smut it by just grabbing a fragmentation grenade, dropping it, and then we'll just hightail it out of there, and so no one else has to run into it. So there's so many things that, gosh, it would fill up a day, if not a week, of stories. But Vil, have you ever had an issue where someone questioned the validity of your injuries in combat? I know that you have a funny story that you tell people, though. I want you to say that. What do you usually tell people that are asking?
Well, first of all, thank y'all for having me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for letting me talk to y'all about this subject. I do see it a lot, especially with me being part of the Win the War Project National Campaign Team. I get a lot of vets that come up to me, and they want to tell their story also, and I like to sit and listen. The very first question that I get asked, how'd you get hurt? Well, the way I break the ice is it's a really bad meth lab accident. So
a meth lab accident. Classic.
I hope that breaks the ice for people.
Yeah. Well,
I bet you get those
for a second, like, really? Like, no, it's just to get the tension out. Then I tell them my story. But I've heard a lot of crazy stories going around when I would go and give my whole story of what happened to me and things like that. I did listen to the y'all's first podcast when y'all started doing this whole Stolen Valor thing, and a lot of it at first kind of threw me off, because I would have never thought of as far as men or women doing it for money.
It's lucrative.
The first couple of people that I encountered was, like I said, they just wanted recognition. They saw all of the wounded veterans, even veterans coming back from their first deployment, getting getting handshakes, pats on the back, people buying them beer at bars, their lunches,
right.
Things like that. Like, oh, I want a free lunch myself. Maybe I should start buying uniforms and ribbons and wearing them, a couple of times a week. Maybe I'll get a free beer or free lunch. And that part I already knew because I would see it. But as far as gaining money from some of these people's stories, um, I even heard about a guy who used a story about a army vet who was actually killed in action. And the next day, I looked up the story that he was saying, and this guy was dead. But he was using his name and his story
Oh my
to
God.
go around and get donations for. I don't know what he was using it for. So I think he made up an organization, and
Wow.
he, when I was there, he was getting checks and money donations in his hand.
Wow.
And so the next day, I looked him up, and sure enough, it was another guy, and couldn't find him the next day. He was gone. He had moved on. But I've had a couple of questions myself get asked. Our unit actually got I believe it was a naval unit citation, and that's really rare for a whole unit to get that medal because it's a unit wide. You only get it if your unit gets it, and so we were 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines were lucky enough to get it because George Bush congratulated us for being in Fallujah during the polling, being security during the polling sites when the Iraqis were able to actually vote for the first time.
No.
Oh, wow.
So we were, our unit was posting security for all those polling sites, making sure they didn't go in and start threatening the people that were voting. So we were lucky enough to get that. So when someone saw the ribbon on my chest, and of course, being the corporal, being barely above starting the non-commissioned officers, with how big my ribbon stack was, I got questions like, how did you get a nut? What did you do?
A NUC being a naval unit citation. NUC. There's PUC, presidential unit citation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're like, that. How did you get that?
You're so young. You're such a low rank. Yeah.
Yeah. I was young, low rank. Things like that. You don't really have time in service for something like that. So I give them my spiel and everything, and I'd get weird looks like, no, I think so. You did something wrong that never happened to you. But I always try to carry my bio around just for things like that.
Do you have to bring in the MAR admins too? There's like Marine administrative memos that come down from headquarters Marine Corps in Virginia that say, hey, these medals or these citations, these awards are awarded to these people, these units, these people attached to this unit during this period of time. And those MAR admins are like your best friend, because when you're trying to also tell someone, no, like, don't try to get me in trouble, because in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, you don't necessarily need evidence up front. You just need an accusation brought against you to a senior officer, or an officer in general, and so they can actually start the process. So it's almost like you have to carry around your whole bio of like, yes, I rate this.
Oh my God.
And actually talking about that too, what Anthony Wheeler was talking about being in the military, people that would question you. Also, when I found out that our unit rated that award, I went through base in North Carolina through Camp Lejeune because my brother-in-law was stationed there. So while I was up there, I found out that we were rated that award. So I went to where you get all your uniforms ordered and things like that. Went to the lady and told her I needed to get a new set of ribbons placed. And I told her all my ribbons, and she stopped at the naval unit citation. And she was like, how do you have this? I was like, well, with my unit, I just found out a week ago that I rated it and I need to get it. She was like, well, I need to go and call your unit. I need to call your ex-boss if he's still in. I need to call Washington to make sure your unit. I was like, what are you?
Wow.
Why would I ask for this ribbon if I didn't rate it.
Well, that's so interesting, because I wonder if there are many accounts of people having to do that, or that have tried to do that, and now she has to go and double check. You think they would have a system where, maybe you have an official piece of paperwork that you then give this woman so she doesn't have to put you through questioning?
No, there actually is, but this woman probably wasn't in the service. She's just maybe a civilian, I think, right? So
yeah, usually they're civilians.
If you're an active duty military member, you have access to a database. Like for Marines, it's called Marine Online, MOL. And you can actually look up anybody and their awards at any given time, So her doing all that, I don't understand why she's just a little overzealous, I think. But I'm glad that she is a gatekeeper, but just not against people that are legit. I don't know. Just saying, there's a balance.
I mean, I can imagine there's a lot of interest where, if it is such a rare award, where people really do want to hear the story, like, how did you get that? But I can tell that you're able to hear the tone in which they're asking you, where it's more questioning.
It reminds me, we got so much data and research on this episode from military.com. There were just article after article of people that had been taken advantage of, but then there was also this perspective of a vet who's a long haul trucker, and he goes in, he's halfway through a long day and goes into Denny's to sit down and have his pancakes, and he's got his hat on, and somebody sidles up next to him and starts asking questions like, "Oh, what was your MOS?" And then but not in a kind, inquisitive way, but for some reason he's pissed off that this guy's getting 10% off his pancakes and he wants to make a big deal out of it. Yeah. Like I had no idea that it was going to be this ugly in this way, where people get attacked and questioned.
And that happens a lot, especially when Veterans Day comes around, and you have all these restaurants that want to be nice and do the free meal with every purchase or with their military ID. But like Adrian said, especially me, I don't really like going out, because when I go out, I can kind of tell who's out there to abuse the system of these restaurants giving out these free meals. And you can, I don't know about these guys, but I can tell who's, excuse my language, full of shit when they're out there.
Yeah. So what is the first thing that tips you off, Anthony?
Their body language, when they're so willing to tell their story or ask, like, that would usually be their first things, like, "Oh, are y'all still," when they sit down, "Oh, I'm a veteran." That'll be the first thing they say. To me, that's I don't even say that when I sit down.
Yeah.
I rarely ask for the veteran discount when I go anywhere.
You're like, "But do they have the meth cook discount? Because I'll take that one."
That's right. Well, I don't know if you want some from me, because obviously I can't do it right. So,
Hey, Anthony, I have to ask you. So, when you earn the Purple Heart, does the Tooth Fairy bring it in the middle of the night and pin it to your pillow, like the guy that we featured in our podcast?
No, it was more of a bigger, shinier guy. And the general came down and pinned me. And I believe it was General Mattis who came in.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Was it General Mattis or General Amos? I'm sorry.
See, thank you, Jess's wife. She was there.
I had a lot of drugs, so.
No, actually, I was there because you were there with, I think it was, oh my gosh, Joe, Fighting Joe. You were there with Piram, and Colbert was there. I mean, you guys were there together in the same time. And here's the thing is that Lieutenant Clevenger, our old lieutenant from our previous deployment, he came down because he was going to do it for Piram, Joe Piram, which is now he's a law enforcement officer in the South somewhere. Love Joe. But we had this conversation because you were still sedated, heavily sedated. And the conversation occurred to like, hey, should we just do it for Anthony while he's out? And we're like, no, wait. I think Jess remembers that conversation. Like, no, you guys got to wait until he's actually able to enjoy himself. You know what I mean? So, so that almost pinned it to his pillow, but I'm glad that you had to wait for General Amos to actually pin it on you, because that's you deserve that. You deserve all that fanfare. You deserve the actual ceremony for that, because that's not something that anybody wants. You don't go in there wanting a Purple Heart.
Right.
There's also some of our EOD, our explosive ordnance guys, that would actually get injured on the job, and they would refuse to wear their Purple Heart because, like, to them that means that they messed up. Like that's what I've heard from some of our some of the EOD guys from Bakwa when I went back out there after you came back. So that's really interesting. Very interesting, and that's the culture that you're having to battle with between the real thing and those that are like posing as such.
So do any of you sort of take on that perspective of feeling victimized by people that are doing this, whether it's for attention or whether it is for something monetary? Where do you kind of see yourself in that? We told the story in the podcast of the veterans who showed up to the hearing for the guy that was prosecuted, and they very much said, yes, I do feel like he stole something from me. What do you guys think?
I feel that it makes every veteran around the United States look bad. When you hear stories of people going out and abusing the system just to get money, or even there was a guy in San Antonio who was injured, but not to the extent that he was telling everybody, had a house built for him for free. And this Army guy was paralyzed, for what he told everybody, couldn't walk, but was going through physical therapy. Well, about a week later, was captured on video mowing his lawn. And $400,000 house. Everything was new, built.
Wow.
And didn't have anything really wrong with him.
Was
he had an injury.
The Gary Sinise Foundation, or was this a different organization in Texas?
It was Homes for Heroes. I don't think they're based out of Texas.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he had a home built for him, and then now with that happening, a lot of these organizations, you have to put in you have to do 10 pages of paperwork. You have to submit paperwork with your awards, where you served, who you served with. You got to give references and things like that. And it's hard. It's hard to get things like that sometimes, because a lot of guys you serve with are out either in the civilian world, deployed, or in another unit that you have no idea where they're at. And so that just makes it hard for veterans who are, legit want and need help to get it. And you have these guys who have all this false paperwork, all these fake medals that they put on this paperwork, getting all these benefits, when you still have, Vietnam veterans, World War II veterans, Desert Storm veterans trying to get their benefit from their wars from the VA that's so backed up.
Yeah, just the basics.
For these guys to receive their benefits on the spot, because they have somehow miraculously gotten all the paperwork from the military, it just puts a damper on real warriors trying to get their benefits.
It's one of the things that frustrates me, just knowing, and I don't have a problem with our military budget. I just wish that it actually was spent in a way that takes care of people and gets rid of antiquated computer systems, so the VA works the way the VA is supposed to work, and gets you guys the help you need. I think about also the time that it would take. It's not just about what has to be done. It's that not everybody has time to sit down in front of the computer and sit with the phone for 4 or 5 days and make all those calls and track people down. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it seems to me that it's just getting harder and harder for veterans to get anything nowadays, especially with the mental disabilities now really high among veterans now. Some, like I said, with all that paperwork, with some of these organizations are requesting, some of those guys need help now.
Right.
Yeah.
When they ask for it, they need it now, but they have to go through the whole application process just to get to talk to somebody, because they have no way of reaching out to the guys they served with, because they don't want to seem like they're being problem for other vets.
Well, yeah, look at Clay Hunt, our fellow Marine, Clay Hunt and Hilbert. You know, they died by suicide, unfortunately, because they wanted help, but they had to wait in line to receive those services, and we remember them because they were great, outstanding Marines and friends. It's just it's unfortunate that they weren't valued as being a high priority, and just those are the things that anger us, especially, and that just all kind of melds into why Stolen Valor is such a visceral response for us, right? It's like, oh, while you sit there quarterbacking and saying that, oh, I'm a keyboard commando, I've watched a few movies in my time, I rate this, right? The other people are like, I was afraid for my life and I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night alive, so it's all about perspectives. Wheeler, what about you? What are your feelings on Stolen Valor?
Yeah, so Stolen Valor, like when I was in, it was a big problem. Obviously because I was in, and I'll say I experienced it, and it's like fresh. So when I did go out and I run into an individual and their story doesn't really click or it seems off, and I'm not like, usually everyone uses Army. Army has so many damn units and like patches and crap. Like I don't know. They could be telling the truth. Like who knows? Like, but it just, some of it doesn't seem right, and like obviously they're trying to get benefits. But nowadays, like I don't have the energy or like unless it's something like big, like Bill said, involving that jerk ass trying to get like a free house and all this crap that actually pulls from a no shit veteran that was disabled who actually needs that. But the guy, like, there's one guy here at my Lowe's. He said he was in Echo 27 because he had like a Lowe's vest, Marine Corps thing. I'm like, hey, you're a Marine? I was a Marine, the whole thing, And then they're like, I was like, what unit? And he was like, oh, 27. I was like, oh, cool, I was in 27. And like, but his reaction to the fact that I was in 27 too, like his face was like, oh shit. And then so he pushed out Echo Company, and I was like, cool, I was in Golf Company, 3rd Platoon. Like, what platoon were you in? And so I started like digging into it. And so like his stories were like half on, half off. Like his direct deployments, the dates were off, and like locations where each company was off, and like events, kind of. So like, but I don't have that. Like I was just talking because I think I was talking for my own self, so I can kind of like depress any kind of like mental internal thoughts I had to just, like back when I was in Winter Warrior Battalion before I got out, like they say it's easy to talk about it. So I think I was just kind of just doing it, kind of talk about my own shit. I could care less, right. I guess per se. But I don't have the energy to like get out my phone and kind of like Google this guy and figure out like, hey, you asshole, like take off that vest and get the hell out of here. I don't have the energy for that, because like what is he hurting to me? Like maybe he took a job from another vet. Maybe I don't know. So like nowadays, again, like the energy, I don't have the energy to really go after or care about like some dude wearing some baseball caps named Navy Ship X or whatever. I'm not gonna like drill the guy because maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, and then I'm just gonna get myself upset over it.
Yeah.
But also, I do care about where I do care about is where monetary loss is there, or especially stealing. I consider theft or like fraud when it directly impacts a disabled veteran, when someone's going after one of those organizations or that are built for helping veterans who were injured some way, shape, or form and need a house or like a car or some sort of like thing to make life just a smidge easier for them. And so that's a big deal to me. But like a Denny's theft, like that's on Denny's. Like they need, like Lowe's has like a system in place. You can't just ask for a veteran discount at Lowe's. Same with Home Depot. Like some companies have safeguards to catch it, and you have to show proof of it before you're part of the system. some companies just say, "Oh, cool, you're a vet," and you get it or not. And for me, my mind goes all over the place. So I completely understand. So.
No, I just realized you don't have the energy for it because you have 5 kids. So you got better things to do, right?
I got 5 kids, 2 dogs. Yeah.
What about you, Adrian? Do you feel victimized? Is that a good word for it?
I feel bad for them now because I'm like, wow, like you're having to go out of your way to present yourself as somebody that you're not. My goodness, like who hurt you, right? At the same time, it's like, dude, like if you want a handout, ask for it. Don't just try to manipulate people into thinking, oh, I'm going to sell them on this story. Yes, I still have a visceral response to people like the case study that we brought up. The wife was affected because the wife's leg ended up having to get amputated.
She was the real wounded warrior.
She was a real wounded warrior. And on top of that, you had this guy that was a former police officer, but disgraced, thank God, because they gave him like an AR-15 with like emblazoned with like beautiful things. It was just like an ornate thing, and that cost money. So there was like all these other things that were going on. So I just in general don't necessarily have the time nor the energy to go find them, but I will. I definitely don't like it, and it makes me feel very just irritated that still exists. Do I feel bad? More so now after hearing the episode. Now I look at it more of like pathophysiology, right? Like what's going on here with this person? I want to explore now why they would want to take it upon themselves to lie. So I guess I'm 50-50.
What I was going to say, even Adrian, that's a wonderful perspective. And I would go even further that within what you're presenting, there are subdivisions of people that have different motivations. And one of them is very clear to me. There are con men and we don't see so many women doing it, but there are people that they were con men probably before they went into the military. And this is their long con. And then there are other people that are just like trying to find some kind of identity in the world that like, this is the way they give themselves an ego boost. And it's just not the smartest choice because there's always the potential that they'll get caught or things will go out of control and your wife gets her leg cut off. Like, what a horrible thing to happen,
Yeah, I try to. So I talked to. I'm a buddy with the recruiting station here in my town. I don't know if he's there anymore because I haven't talked to him in a little bit. But he has me talk to his.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost him just right when we were about to find out.
I know.
Well, like for me, I actively, when I see a veteran out in the store wearing, military, says Army hat, Marine hat, whatever, I'll actively go up and say, "Hey, sir, thank you for your service. Where did you serve?" And I'm a poker and prodder, so
yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
I ask the questions. I'm one of those guys like, all right, let's see.
Yeah.
Where did you serve? What years? Oh, you were here. Where at? And I like to be. I'm one of those angry veterans, especially with me being wounded, being injured, seeing especially with the VA where they're so backlogged.
Right.
A lot of these veterans are, offing themselves because they can't get the help they get.
Right.
And then I catch a guy who wants to feel special in the community because he hasn't done anything in his life. So why not impersonate a veteran who's seen combat? Talk to me and try to give me this bullshit story that, oh yeah, I was over, I went to Okinawa and I fought. I'm like, dude, you're 25 years old. What are you talking about?
Okinawa, that was back in World War II. What are you talking about?
I think things are fine in Okinawa now.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
And
he's also a time traveler.
And the one of the points you brought up in your podcast, which I really enjoy, is that's how we can call bullshit on a lot of these stories. Is what the first thing that comes out is, oh, I was a Navy SEAL. All right, let's go. This is so easy to do. We're gonna get through this. It's gonna be like hot knife through butter. All right, which SEAL team were you with, or where did you do your training at? And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find the bullshit in the story, and it takes a lot out of me because sometimes I just want to grab him and choke the shit out of him. Like, all right, you want to lie about this in front of me when damn well you know you're talking to somebody who's been injured over there. No, I'm not gonna take this shit. And that in turn also makes not just me but the veteran community look bad because I'm an angry veteran who's, you know, physically assaulting this guy for making up a bogus lie.
Sure.
And so now people look at veterans who do things like that, like, oh, he's, you know, there's something wrong with him. He has mental disability. So I, you know, if I talk to a veteran and I give him, you know, try to ask him a question, he's gonna obviously get mad and try to beat me up. So I do get a lot of how do you say, like people give me like advice like, hey, maybe you should do that, you know, maybe you should just hear his story and, you know, not go out of it. But no, I'm very passionate about these veterans that have these mental disabilities through PTSD and can't get help. And then we have this guy here who wants a 10% discount at Golden Corral with this meal. You know, it angers the hell out of me. And, you know, if I could, I'd beat every one of them up.
All right, we know where you stand. Claire, I wanted to hear before we end here what you were about to let us know.
Oh, I'm sorry. My computer died. I'm not really tech savvy. So I usually talk to the police or the new future Marines before they go to boot camp. The recruiters have them. He has me talk to them, and like a lot of Marines like now, they don't even get to deploy. Like when I was in my last unit, first LAR, I think 90% of them didn't even leave the States. So like they did their whole 4 years in Camp Pendleton. They didn't go anywhere. And like, you know, you join the infantry, especially during a semi-war time period, you know, you have this expectation that you're going to deploy somewhere, and then you don't. So then it leaves like, well, what kind of stories do I have? And then that's where I think it stems. Like they feel like they didn't, accomplish the perception of what, you know, they should have. And then that's where they start to stem this or fabricate or inflate X, Y, and Z. So I kind of try to catch it at the front end because I'm a firm believer. When I was in, you can make things happen if you're proactive. So I tell these police, if boot camp is your war story, then boot camp is your war story. Like that means like you were not proactive in your career and you joined and you didn't try to take any advantage, if possible, of like deploying or going to schools or doing any kind of experience in that 4 years. Because when I was in, these two guys, they fit 3 combat tours in 4 years. So you can imagine that's literally one after a year, minus boot camp and that's the School of Infantry. So for me, I did my 2, and then I proactively went to a different unit and actively participated in events and things to get experience. Because I joined for the experience and obviously the fight and stuff. And then I went back and I called the Marine Corps to go to 3-4 so I can go to Afghanistan. Like that was my push. It wasn't the Marine Corps telling me it's time for you to move to here to go here. I told the Marine Corps I want to go from here to here to go to here. And then when I got to that unit, they said we need advisors. And I kind of heard of what Dakota Myers did, and he was a foreign advisor. So I was like, I want to do what he did. So I joined the advisor platoon and got, you know, one of the biggest chances I think I got because then I went to Republic of Georgia and did that. And then went to Afghanistan as a foreign advisor. And we operated in small teams at that time. So it was just me and 3 other Marines, maybe some attachments, and a Navy corpsman with 30 plus Afghans. And my mission was to make them in charge of the operation and kind of pull back the Marines. They take the front, and then we could just kind of trail behind them as support elements. and then we were separated from each other in other Marine elements. So we're like easy targets. And that's pretty much the advisor teams were hit a lot because we're just small little Marine elements. It's easier to hit 4 instead of 12, which is why I got tagged. Yeah, so I tell these pulleys, like when you join, no matter what MOS you are, like it's on you to, participate and want
have the initiative to ask for stuff and do stuff and better yourself. Yeah.
Right. Don't just sit behind a computer if you're like admin and then get out and then bitch that you sat behind a computer and boot camp was like the biggest story you have. Like, well, that's technically your fault. And that's obviously just nothing was open to you. Like absolutely nothing. Like the Marine Corps just boxed you in that little spot and said, no, you don't go nowhere. Yeah. Which is rare. You can go from admin and join the infantry unit. Like infantry has admin, and then you can deploy with the infantry battalions, and then you can request through your gunny to go with the infantry squads. Like I had intel guys and admin guys attached to me. Like obviously they wanted their combat action ribbon, but
yeah. Well, I think that's great, to be able to give that advice on the front end, because it's a really interesting thing to say. There are people who make up these stories because they don't have any stories to make up. But we are coming to the end of our time. So we just want to thank you so much. I've been seeing some of the comments, just people over and over again. Thank you guys for your service and your time. And Scott and I are so grateful that Adrian connected all of us together. And we're going to be sending you some challenge coins. We have podcast challenge coins. And Scott and I are going to make a donation to Wounded Warrior Project as soon as we hang up tonight, just for your time, because we really appreciate everything. So
and we ask any of our listeners that have some money to spare, please consider donating to Wounded Warriors. It's really a great organization.
Yes, any V coin that anyone has dropped or does drop before we end here, we will send it in our donation as well. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, everyone. Great show. Good night. Thank you so much for meeting. It was so nice to meet both of you, and thanks again.